We were talking about filmmaking earlier. Anthony had some questions, and I wanted to bring him into the conversation too.
Yeah, every now and again we've touched on, I mean, what we've seen now, whether it's everything from movies, especially franchise movies, to rock and roll, that streaming and theft of property rights and piracy are serious, seriously deforming these businesses. Rock and rollers go to tour, that's how they make money these days. Indies, are they a little more secure, being they're so niche? I mean, is it easier to protect indie movies? And how do you actually, you made your film, how do you get it distribution? And this is all a multiple question. Some people I know are working on the internet, Is this viable? I mean, how can one stop things being copied on the internet?
If someone wants to get something for free on the internet and really they'll do it. They can. I mean, there's no, anyone who's really going to spend a little time trying to get something for free on the internet can do it, and they will. I've seen things for sale in Chinatown before they're supposed to be released, DVDs that are pirated from overseas. So I don't think there's any real way other than the normal law enforcement ways of doing it, of trying to track down people and punish them after the fact. But I'm sure the compliance is below a thousandth of a percent, the way they would catch anybody doing this sort of thing. You go abroad, you see your films, pirated versions of your films in retail outlets.
Can you use that? Can distribution of a film that you've done push your career in a way that it doesn't have a financial return, but maybe your reputation goes further?
I'm sure. Now that's a big part of the internet. It's giving things away, or pieces of things away, to promote them. So, and the bigger something becomes, and more of a phenomenon is, the more you may not benefit from it right away, but maybe your next time around, or the next thing you do, you'll get some benefit from it.
Have you done any of that with either the book you're working on or the film? Released anything in advance?
No, I haven't. No.
I just wondered if it was something you were considering.
I'm sure it'll, maybe we'll give away chapters of the book. I don't know.
I wonder.
That's very common.
It does happen, though. Yeah, I wondered. So Anthony, I want to draw you in again. We know there's a cross-pollination between art and film. Given that, do you see the world today being more influenced by mainstream Hollywood or the indies that you spoke of earlier?
Well, I think the mainstream is mainstream, isn't it? It's but in terms of influence on, I don't want to say anything snotty, but in terms of influence upon people that actually make stuff and think about stuff, I think indie movies are much more important. I'm much more likely to be influenced by an indie movie than I'm about Iron Man 17 or something, But I want to ask another question, coming out of my last one. And I've seen, I forget the film it was, but nowadays, as I've said, rockers go on tour. You see this happening in publishing. You see increasing ways of promoting things by personalizing them in some way. I remember a film where actually the actors were going around. Obviously, you can't have one of your actors at every screening, but I could see ways of promoting films in a way by personalizing them in a way.
I think more and more films are based on real stories. The more that I see over time, I'm seeing actual films that are based on true stories and trying to involve the audience in a discussion of the significance of the film after it comes out is part of now how you promote things. And I think they're also more interesting to see something that's drawn on something real.
Avram, can I ask you, who in the independent world right now is catching your eye? Who do you see as significant?
Well, Doug Liman, who did Swingers, an old friend of mine, and I think he's gone off and done a bunch of big studio pictures, but now he's about to do an indie film with Tom Cruise. So he's bringing Tom into the indie world. And it's called Mina. It's about Barry Seal, who was the most successful drug smuggler, cocaine smuggler in American history. And the fellow was a pilot for American Airlines, got a job with the CIA taking surveillance photographs for the Contras to help them, and then started bringing weapons down in small planes to Nicaragua, and then in the planes he would bring cocaine back to the United States. So he was flying into the United States on the CIA's dime, bringing drugs in to the United States. Then it mushroomed and grew.
And who's your team on this production?
Well, Tom is a great collaborator, and there are Ron Howard's producer, Brian Grazer, found the property, and it's a terrific script. So we'll get it shot.
Oh, that's great. It sounds exciting, but it is interesting to hear major names talked about in the same breath as indie.
Yeah, no, it took a lot to convince Tom to do it, but he wants to do this, so it's going to happen.
I get this feeling this is the start of a big trend, the next big trend, right?
Yeah, well, it's a more interesting topic. No studio would make the film, so now it has to be done independently.
Has the potential to produce films might not have been done before.
Right.
That's great. That's great. I wanted to ask you about, what happens with films when they release them. Sometimes they dump them onto the market, and for you as a producer, as a director, or as the actor, how do you feel about that? Is there pride in having done the work and it gets out there, or frustration?
You want people to see the movies. And it used to be seasonally, people would see more films in the summer. They'd go to the movies more often in the summer, and then leading up to Christmas, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, those were the prime times when people would go to the theater more often than they would in other times of the year. But that's breaking down now. And people are starting to see films more and more in those off times of the year when people didn't historically go as much.
Well, we'll have to take a break here, but stay with us. In our upcoming segment, our panelists will discuss whether sports betting should be legal across the country and what this might mean for jobs.